Hey, Kylene,
Hey, Kelly.
guess what day it is?
It's Kelly Day.
It's Kelly Day. Let's go.
We're going to be talking about how cold calling can build out your referral network on this next episode of our podcast.
Yes, more questions lead to more opportunities to refer more people to more agents outside of your home base.
And how Kelly does it. Yeah, we're going to talk about how you utilize cold calling to build out a referral network.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Let's
Easy
do that.
peasy.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Let's do it.
Real estate referrals, network to Networth, a podcast for real estate agents across the country who are looking to build a profitable referral network to expand their businesses nationwide. My name, Kelly Heldreth.
And I'm Kylene Shelley, and we are the KKG, the fastest growing real estate team in the state of Florida.
Let's go. Kylene.
Kelly, I'm excited about today.
I am too. It feels like Kelly Day.
It is National Kelly Day. So we are going to talk about your superpower. I feel like we've been talking about all of my superpowers, which is awesome.
And there's so many.
There are so many. We could talk for years about them.
Many eons.
But you also have some powers that I feel we would be remiss if we didn't talk about.
Right. And it's not.
Is that the right word?
You think you nailed it.
I did.
And one of my superpowers is, besides bringing you coffee and getting you lunch and all the things that you need.
Oh, you get me lunch. Okay.
Well, that one time I got you lunch. Yeah. Besides that, I do have something else that I'm actually good at in real estate. And
we wanted to really, touch different bases because I think that there's an opportunity no matter which way you prospect to grow out your referral network. So in this episode, we're really going to talk about how cold calling can be beneficial to growing out that network. And cold calling and building a network doesn't always seem like it lines up, but I feel like you've done a really great job of merging those two polar opposites and bringing them together.
I've been good at asking more questions, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So
let's start at the beginning, though. Like, let's say I'm a brand new agent. I'm just coming off of getting my license.
Oh, so cute.
I'm just a baby agent. And let's say I decide that cold calling is my jam.
Okay.
Where do I start?
So I'll only speak to where I started. So I was a year in the business, and my broker at the time said, you should hire a coach. So I hired a coach. And my coach spent all of 45 seconds getting to know me and then said, you should be cold calling.
I mean, I feel like he hit on it pretty.
I guess he knew everything he needed to know in 45 seconds, told me I should be cold calling. And then he gave me he told me which tools to use. He gave me a script, and he said, start dialing and report back to me next week.
So did you just immediately start calling FSBOs?
No. So I didn't call FSBOs or expireds. I started doing circle prospecting. And at the time in real estate, I'd been in for a year, and I'd heard at the time, you have to circle prospect. You must circle prospect. I heard the term so many times. I didn't know what it was, and nobody ever stopped to tell me what it is.
So what is circle prospecting?
So circle prospecting is basically when there is a listing by either you or your brokerage, really can be any listing around. And you say, look, I want to prospect around that listing. And usually you do it in a circle. So I was using Mojo, the Mojo dialer. It's a 3-line dialer, triple line dialer. And in there, the technology was you drop a pin. So I could drop a pin on an address, and then I could pull the pin out, and it would pull in all the data, all the addresses, all the phone numbers that it could find in that circle. So I'm prospecting in a circle around that one specific address.
And what are you saying?
So he gave me my script, and I said it 10,000 times, and it was very simple. And I would say, hi, my name's Kelly Heldreth. I'm a local real estate agent, and I'm just wondering, would you sell your house today if you could?
And they said, sure, Kelly, come.
And they said, no, F you, don't call me again. How'd you get this number? Some people said terrible things. Some people were super, super duper nice.
But it cut your teeth.
It cut my teeth. And I made a lot of those calls because I'm a coachable guy. So I never wanted to, like the following week, I never wanted to show up and go, oh yeah, I didn't make any phone calls. I was going to make the phone calls.
Yeah.
So I made the phone calls. And I did it enough where I got comfortable enough where people stopped giving me a hard time because my skill level increased as I went. I just made more dials. I messed up a lot. And the more you do, the better you get and the better outcomes.
Yeah. I feel like you created this callus that you needed to do in order to get to that next phase.
Absolutely. I would definitely call it a callus, a big, ugly callus.
Yeah.
So yeah, in making those phone calls, I actually did end up having some success. I got lucky. I think that with you have success when there's work. What do they say? The harder I work, the luckier I got.
Yeah.
So I got lucky a lot because I wasn't afraid to make the calls. It got easier and easier as I did it, and I was able to pull some listings, and actually I made some money doing it.
So then when you decided to go from circle prospecting, you kind of mastered that and or got tired of.
I think mastered is a really big word, but I would say proficient. I got proficient with it.
Yeah.
And then my coach said, okay, so you've cut your teeth there. So let's move you into people that are already raising their hands. So
FSBOs and expireds.
FSBOs and expireds.
And you used the same script.
No, I totally changed it.
Darn it.
I wish, because I was real good at it. I could pull that script out at any time.
Which you just did.
Which I just did.
Yeah.
I've said it a couple thousand times. But yeah, so I got different scripts. So my coach gave me some scripts, which were for like Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, guys that you can go. And anybody that's listening, if you want to get some free scripts, go to either of their websites, go to resources and pull those scripts.
Mm-hmm.
The Mike Ferry ones, they're like the original. He's like the godfather. He's the OG. He's the GOAT of the original cold calls. That's how he built a huge empire. And just use those scripts. That's what I did. And there are other people that even today I still kind of follow along.
Yeah.
Jeff Glover.
Mm-hmm.
So I also I take classes still. I've been doing this for a little bit of time, and I always want to be better.
Well, it's so funny. Like you'll take a class and I'm like, why are you taking this class? Like you already know, like you're so good at it, but you're constantly trying to get better.
Well, it's just like you and I, whenever there's a class upstairs here, for something that we don't know, or even we know enough about it, we're always like, look, let's go see if we can pull one nugget.
Yeah.
If we can pull one nugget, it's a win. And I feel the same way. If I hear one little thing that changes my conversations, that might make it easier or put somebody more at ease, I want to know what that is.
I wish we could show your desk because you have scripts hanging up on the wall. You have phrases on your window because you're constantly listening, watching YouTube videos, taking classes, getting new scripts, like you're adapting it. And I think part of it is just you're continually bringing in new phrases so that when you do need them, you're able to pull from that database and utilize them. Because there's been plenty of phrases that I've heard you say over and over and over again. And I feel like you're constantly, trying to learn new ones. And part of what made you so good was your ability to mirror, match, and pivot. So talk about where those skills came from.
So the mirror matching, I think that's just sales. But I learned pretty quickly after making a bunch of phone calls that if I'm talking to somebody from New York, I better talk at their speed. So that's mirroring their speed.
Well, I think I remember when we first learned about mirror and matching, like when we read about it for the first time and you went home and tried it on your wife.
I still do it I do it to Tiff all the time still.
And you're like, when she realized what I was doing, she got really mad.
She was pissed. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's a way to make your marriage last a long time. Mirror match your spouse.
Well, but the mirror matching, it works.
Yeah.
It's a sales thing. I had a situation where I had to mirror match a guy that hated me who didn't even know me, and he was a cop, and I matched him, and all of a sudden, we're friendly, and he sends me referrals.
Yeah.
So it really works.
It does. And then pivoting is also huge.
Right. So mirror matching on the phone, it's really simple to do. You can't mirror them, but you can match them. So match their speed. If they speak fast, go fast. If it's a little old lady from somewhere deep down south, she's going to talk slower. So you got to slow your brain down and talk a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. And then the pivoting, I don't think I got good at pivoting until I really started using a decent headset.
Yeah.
So again, I was doing this. I was making money from it. I was investing in equipment. So I got a good headset. And once the headset went on, it kind of blocked everything else out. And then I realized I can't be looking at another screen. I can only be in the call. And for me to actively listen and pivot, I have to hear what they're saying. And I think that a lot of people, when they first start cold calling, they have the scripts and they're trying to go from the top of the script to the bottom of the script.
as fast as possible.
as fast as possible, because they're like, well, this is what you do. But in the middle of that, you have to be mindful and listen to what the person is saying and pivot.
Well, I think, an important point is, as real estate agents, we're not great active listeners. We're just not. It was a skill that you had to work on, and I think still work on. Like, it's hard some days to stay that in a conversation. You process at a really high level, which makes
You're so nice. Go on.
just today. But you process at a high level, and I do the same. We're already 3 questions in when they're still answering the first one. So it's a really hard thing to stay in that conversation when you process at a high level, which I would assume the majority of really successful real estate agents
They do.
Yeah. We're always juggling 8 or 9 things. So you have to process at a high level. But active listening, you've become really, really good at it.
Well, first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that a lot of it's not me. It might be where I'm from. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah.
A lot of Northeasterners, we speak at a fast cadence. We process pretty quick. And you're a Midwesterner. You guys do exactly the same thing. You speak and you process very quickly.
Yeah.
And the only way to really pivot and keep yourself in the conversation is you have to really listen.
Yeah.
And you have to stop worrying about the next question is. So when I'm making my calls, I don't worry about the outcome of the call. I've told our people on our team, the outcome doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is if you connect with the person. So if I can connect with you, I'm going to use a phrase. So we were laughing earlier about the TikTok person that I found.
Well, I was saying to you, it always surprises me where you find things to change your scripts up at. Like, you'll come in, you'll be like, oh my God, I saw this video. And I'm like, where'd you see that? And so this one came about in 2020 when we were all kind of hanging out at home and you were making a lot of phone calls. You came across a TikToker that was not for the reason of cold calling, but you were able to utilize it.
Yeah, I thought she was fantastic. She's still somebody I see her pop up all the time. Her name is Marnie. She says, my name's Marnie and I'm your wingman. So she's like helps guys like pick up girls.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was on it, but I watched a couple of her. I thought that she was entertaining and she kept it quick. But at one point she started talking about this guy that she was coaching. And the reason that the guy hired her is because he wanted to have more, sorry guys, but he wanted to have more threesomes.
Yeah.
So she worked with him on how to do it.
And let me just stop you. Like, at that point where they would have said threesomes, I would have been like,
You would have swiped.
But you stuck it out.
Listen, the more you know.
I mean, good for you.
So they developed a phrase, and so then he would walk up to 2 girls at the bar, and he would start talking to them, and once he had their attention, he would like lean in, and he would quietly say, "Listen, I have a really interesting idea," and then the girls would stop. He wouldn't say another word. He would kind of. Like, that phrase kind of opens people's minds up. Mm-hmm. That's what I felt was fascinating, because when she said it on the TikTok, I felt like my mind like opened up. I'm like, what is your interesting idea?
Like, I have an interesting idea.
I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I want to know what's going on. But she said that once he did that, his close rate, all of a sudden he was having a great time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I came in, I was like, you got to hear this phrase. So I actually wrote it on my piece of glass that's in front of me. And
you use it all the time.
I definitely use it, but I only use it if I feel like there's an opening. So like the guy at the bar, he's talking to 2 girls. I'm the guy at the bar, but I'm talking to one person. And I feel like I'm getting I'm getting somewhere, but then I'll say,
You're still getting a little pushback.
I'm getting a little bit of pushback, but I feel like there's an opening. So if there's an opening, I'm going to kind of slide my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I'll say, hey, Mr. Jones, I have a really interesting idea. And I just don't say anything else. I just sit quietly.
You do sit till it's uncomfortably uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'll say it and then I'll hear you spin around in your chair, because you know that I'm going to end up in somebody's living room here in the next couple of days because of that phrase.
Yep.
It's the phrase I pay. So I'll say that, and then I'll say, why don't I just come by? Why don't we look each other in the eye, see if we like each other enough to even talk about doing business? But either way, I'd love to take a look at the house. Are you open to that? Are you open Tuesday at 3 or Wednesday at 4? What's best? Yeah. And usually I won't use that phrase unless it's going to get me in the house.
Yep.
So there has to be a big opening there.
Well, I think you have an encyclopedia of those type of phrases that you're able to pull out at different times. And that's part of the pivoting. That's part of the active listening. That's part of the script practicing. Like you got really great at your craft where now you're just having conversations and you understand, which I wish a lot of cold callers would understand, is that you're probably not going to close out on the first call.
I almost know that I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I don't have that superpower. But one thing I am is consistent. So I will.
Like a toddler.
Like a big dumb animal. So I'll say, like at the end of a call, if we've had a good call, I'll say, listen, Kylene, it's great talking to you. Again, my name's Kelly, Kelly, because I want to see if I can like stick a bug in their ear. So they'll remember when I call back, because I'm going to call back. I know I'm not going to close you right now, but I'm going to call you back. And when I do call you back, I want you to remember who I am.
I thought it was just because you wanted to remind them that you had a female name.
Yes. And again,
I'm the male Kelly.
Yeah, I'm the Kelly that is a man. Yeah. It sounds weird, but it's true. But yeah, I actually use that to my advantage. You know, in third grade, it sucked, but as an adult man,
it's perfect.
It's great because, like I said, you know, people will, when I do call them back, they'll remember. And I always say, I'll call you back in like 10 days, but it means like 5 days.
Yeah.
Because I know that they've already raised their hand. They're going to make a decision. If it's not this person, it's going to be me, and I'd rather it be me.
Yeah. So I think just consistency and honing in on your craft and being able to change and being able to pivot and be able to active listening all comes with time. So once you were able to accomplish all of that and you just realize that these were just conversations, this is when you're really able to take that relationship to the next level, because you're not just looking to sell their house. Like, yes, that would be fantastic. The ultimate, right? But like we have other ways that we can help them.
Right.
So how do you go about that?
So if I'm already having a conversation with them, I'll say, well, you know, you guys are selling your house. Where are you going next? And they'll say, I'm moving to Atlanta. And I'll say, oh, that's fantastic. Atlanta's great. Do you have a talented agent up there? And I'll always use the word talented because I want people to wonder, is the person I'm talking to up there talented? And if they say, well, we really haven't started that process yet, I'll say, you know what? We have a great referral network. Let me talk to Kylene. She knows who we have in Atlanta. I'll get you 2 or 3 names. I'll interview them myself, and then I'll give you their names. Will that be all right? So I've done that enough. I know to ask the question.
Yeah.
And that has helped build out the referral network and send other people out of state, people that are leaving here.
Yeah. And I think, you know, a point that maybe people fail to realize is that you have other ways of building out that referral network. Like part of our referral network are our local vendors that we use. And somebody who's selling their house on their own may need those vendors. Like it is just another layer that you are putting on those already established relationships. Like if you're able to continually refer people to your vendors, like it's only going to come back to you.
Right. No, absolutely. Vendors love it. And people love that they can talk to somebody that somebody else knows where they're going to get great service.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So another way that you can use cold calling to grow out your referral network, and this was one that I actually heard at a training. You and I have not implemented this.
Super interesting, though.
I have an interesting idea.
It's exactly that, but better.
So as you're growing out your referral network and you're making these phone calls and you're introducing yourself to agents in other areas, you might come across a few that are like, well, you've said this quite a few times, send me a referral and I'll send you one back. So how could you use cold calling in those situations to send them a referral?
So you can cold call on their behalf in their area.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
You could stir up a beehive of activity for that person and really get their attention.
Yep, for sure.
It's such a great idea. I've not done it. You haven't done it yet, but it's there. And I hope somebody that's listening will go, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And use it.
When I heard that, I was like, that's freaking genius.
I know. We like both spun around and looked at each other.
Well, I think I called you like the minute the class was over. I'm like, this dude just said he cold calls around his referral partners. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, again, a V8 moment. Like we've had so many of them where sometimes it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But you know, you steal it, you repeat it and use it.
Yeah. So cold calling can lead to growing out your referral network.
Yep.
I think, you know, if we're to boil this down, like what are the takeaways that they can have from this? Like, okay, you're wanting to cold call. what would be the first thing that would be a takeaway for them?
So I would say if it's something that you want to do, there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Brandon Mulrenin. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He pivots really, really well. He asks great questions. I think that there's many, many people, like I said, Jeff Glover, Jeff Cohn. Jeff Cohn has the largest team building podcast going right now. That guy's a super genius. He's made thousands and thousands of calls.
And you can tell.
Like he's fearless on the phone. Just all you do is jump on YouTube and put in real estate cold calls and then figure out who you resonate with. There's so many different personalities.
Yeah.
Figure out the guy that you resonate with and do more of what they're doing, and then make whatever they're doing, start to make it your own as you make more phone calls.
Yeah. I think something to keep in mind for all agents that do cold calling is that every phone call is an opportunity. So often you're absolutely right. They just try to get through their script and get that yes or the no, which most of the time that's going to be a no.
Right.
But realizing that like you're just having a conversation, you're figuring out how you can help them. And that's something that you're great at. You always come from contribution. Whenever I talk about you cold calling, I say the one thing that he does is he always comes from a place of contribution. Like, how can I help you? Because he understands, like, if they're FSBO and they're 2 days on the market, they're not going to switch to an agent. But if you can say, hey, you got your cat licking itself on photo 4, you might want to replace that.
Right.
Then that's a helpful.
Yeah. Oftentimes, well, you've heard me I'll be on Zillow looking at the pictures and I'll say, hey, can I give you just some advice from a guy that does this every day?
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually like, yeah. They're usually like very apprehensive. But then I'll just, like you said, I'll go through and I'll say there's a couple pictures. They're really dark.
Mm-hmm. Put a video on.
Yeah.
Get an open house. Like there's a lot of different things that you say to them.
Yeah. And there's only one picture of the kitchen. Shoot the picture from 3 different angles. Brighten it up a little bit. So the pictures are just really dark. And usually those people, when I call them back, they always remember who I am.
Yeah.
Because I helped them. I wasn't just trying to end up in their living room.
Yeah. And then you follow up and you're like, hey, how are things going? Like you never really come in with a hard pitch from the very beginning. You're really just there to ask those questions. And I think that leads into the next point that I would hope people take away from this is like, you need to get really good at active listening. Yeah. It needs to be something that you practice in all aspects of your life. Yeah. I mean, gentlemen, it'll only make your relationship better.
I hear it works at home too.
It does. You should try it sometime.
Yeah. But as real estate agents, and I think that you're incredible at this too, because, and I just heard you talking to a referral that came into you today, and at no point did I feel like you were waiting to talk. You were just totally chill, laid back, letting the waves come in to his questions.
Flapping on the shore.
Flapping on the shore. You were letting him speak. You were hearing what he said. You were actively listening to what he said. And then you were giving him a great response.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, oftentimes we just try to push through instead of sometimes you just stop, and we should do that more. Just stop, let them finish their thought. Don't think about what you're going to say next, but think about what they just said. Yeah. And then answer it.
Yeah. And I think the final takeaway from all of this, if, you want to excel at this, is know that this is, again, a process. We're just building relationships. Real estate is just about building relationships. And this is just another avenue for people to do that. So just really take your time, connect with the people, get to know them, show them that you care, and the business will follow you. Yeah.
And continue to ask questions, but actively listening to them when you could tell they are done with you, let them go.
Oh, yeah. Read a room.
Read the room for sure. Let them go. Make the next phone call. You don't want to make anybody mad at you. Just make the next call.
Yeah. So if you want more information on cold calling, there's no better person to talk to than Kelly Heldreth. So the best way to get a hold of us is to head over to our website, www.thekkg.com/referrals. Fill out your information, give us your number, and we'll get a hold of you and definitely get you some more information. I bet we could even get him to share some of his most favorite scripts if you really wanted them.
I would love to. Anybody that wants help, I would love to help you. Again, there's some really good resources. I would start at YouTube. And if you want to get a Kelly spin on it or the KKG spin on it, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to help you.
Absolutely. So guys, hopefully you took a little bit away from this. I'm glad we got to spend time talking about Kelly today.
I really hope everybody enjoyed Kelly Day as much as Kelly did.
It's one and done, people. Enjoy it.
Kylene, you're awesome at this. You should do this more often.
Kelly, we should do another one after this.
I think so.
All right. High five, my friend.
High five.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.